This coming week, on Thursday to be exact, we celebrate the day of Lag BaOmer, a joyous day in the Jewish calendar. There are 49 days we count from Pesach to Shavuot as commanded by the Torah. And during this time, in the days of Rabbi Akiva, thousands of his students died from a plague, turning this into a period of mourning. But on the 33rd day, the plague stopped. 33 using Hebrew letters is Lamed and Gimel. Lamed is the 33rd day in the Omer, which became a day for festivities filled with many different customs. On this day, some get their first haircut in Israel. Tens of thousands light bonfires, go to the grave of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the great Kabbalist who traditions say died on this day. And then there are the bows and arrows. On Lag BaOmer, there's a tradition to use a bow and arrow. To this day, the custom is popular in Israel and in many Hasidic and other yeshivot. Why the bow and arrow? Some say it's to remember the students of Rabbi Akiva who fought with Bar Kokhba to try and reconquer Jerusalem. And indeed, the first youth brigade of Israel's Haganah was established on Lag BaOmer in 1948, and their symbol is the bow and arrow. Others attribute it to the students of Shimon Bar Yochai who were barred from learning Torah, and when the Roman authorities came to investigate them, they left the cheder and played with bows and arrows in the fields. But perhaps the most meaningful and well-known explanation has to do with the fact that the Medrash tells us that the bow reminds us of the rainbow, and that all the days that Shimon Bar Yochai lived, there never appeared a rainbow. What does that mean? The rainbow, as you know, was a gift to the world from God after the flood. It's a collage of colors, and it's meant to represent the hopes for peace and that all the world will not be destroyed. As long as Shimon Bar Yochai lived, he himself kept the world alive. No rainbow is necessary. But the bow reminds us that we need one ever since. Which, of course, leads to the question of the day: which bathrooms should transgender people use? It's hard to believe that with the many issues facing our country, this has become such a central and controversial question. Gender identity. But it's really part of a larger question. For it just so happens that the rainbow is the symbol of what is called the LGBTQ community. Lesbians, gays, bis, and transgender and queer. The issue of transgender is part of a culture war that's very much dividing our country. How are we to deal with people different than us in gender, in politics, in religion? Does Judaism take a stand on this question, whether a transgender person should be using bathrooms designated for the sex in which they were born or for the gender in which their body now lives? How are they to be treated in a synagogue? Where are they to sit? You should know that in Jewish law, there are differences of opinion. With one rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak Liebes, a respected halachic authority known as the Gerdinga Rav, when asked this question, replied, "My way is not to get involved with abominable and despicable questions." That takes care of that. Another rabbi, Rabbi David Bleich, dismissing the whole issue of transgender as simply being a psychological problem. But then there is a Rabbi Eden Ben Ephraim who wrote a whole book on the subject, And he comes to the conclusion that from a Jewish perspective, any laws that have to do between man and God, a transgender person must follow the way God created him or her. But any law relating to a man and his fellow human beings, the transgender person is to be treated the way they now identify themselves. Which means that if a person who was born a man and now identifies as a woman comes to shul, he or she sits in the women's section, and a woman who now identifies as a man sits in the men's section. So if that's to be the seating arrangement in the synagogue, it makes sense for that to be the seating arrangements for bathrooms as well. You see, for some rabbis and a lot of people, created equal means we are all the same, and anyone who deviates from the norm, that's their problem, not ours. But for others, there's a rainbow. And there are a lot of people who think and act and believe and look and dress differently from us. Many colors go into making of a rainbow. And we have to be prepared to accept the broadest spectrum, even those different from us, for there to be peace and harmony in our midst. It's little wonder that the Jewish organization working to achieve equal rights for the LGBT community is named Keshet, the bow, the rainbow. Let's make sure it hits the mark in our society. Shabbat Shalom.